we should be able to invest more at ports of entry to get a lot more fentanyl before it crosses the border. There's sort of a lottery situation where we can only inspect one out of every so many vehicles, and the cartels know that, and they don't mind somebody getting caught and going to prison as long as they can get a lot of other fentanyl through the ports of border. So I'm sure hoping that the president's budget that comes over here next month asks Congress to do a robust investment in border security at ports of entry, because CBP is pioneering technologies that have shown that they can work, but we just have to do it with all vehicles and do it in a prompt way so that we can pick up more. I want to thank the CBP agents. When you look at the amount that's been interdicted either at the border by CBP agents or by the HIDTA task forces internally, you want to thank those folks, but you also want to say, as bad as this is, hundreds of thousands more pounds of these drugs, had they not been interdicted in that way by these public servants, how much worse it would be. The other bit of news, Dr. Gupta, that I was pleased to read in your testimony, and you mentioned it in your verbal testimony too, was that just as before COVID, we were seeing overdose deaths coming down, and then during COVID, for a variety of reasons, including fentanyl, but other reasons as well, the isolation of COVID, we saw overdose deaths go back up. You now have indicated that at least preliminary data suggests that for the last 5 months, they've been coming down again. It's too soon to call it a trend, but we want to watch it and learn from it. In Virginia, we'll expect about 2,500 fentanyl deaths this year, and Senator Scott, you know, what he read from his friend, I mean, there are these funerals happening multiple times a day. And I'm particularly, I guess I want to ask you, Dr. Milgram, Secretary Milgram, about kids. The kids get drugs and often accidentally overdose because they think they're getting an Adderall or they think they're getting something else, and it's cut with fentanyl. And so you mentioned in your testimony the One Pill Can Kill campaign. Tell us more about that campaign, and you know, are you seeing it as a success? Because clearly if we can't make people aware of the danger and curb demand that way, there will always be a supplier who will be creative. But what can we do on the demand side? And One Pill Can Kill is designed to address that.
Thank you so much, Senator, for that question. At this moment in time, we believe that public awareness is one of the most vital things that we can do. We have a very hardened senior agent in charge in the United States who said to me not too long ago that if he had an hour of time right now, and he had to choose between putting handcuffs on someone or doing public awareness, right now he would do public awareness, because still too many Americans do not understand the dangers. So we launched the One Pill Can Kill campaign in the fall of 2021, and we've done enforcement actions as well, and we've seized pills across the United States in all 50 states to highlight this work. We also give that campaign to anyone and everyone who wants it. We have intentionally not branded it from DEA or DOJ. And so we have a university in the Midwest that just launched it. We have a police department in Florida that has taken it on. And we have countless families and parents who've lost their children who have taken the One Pill Can Kill campaign and all of the materials we have. We've also started meeting with families who've lost loved ones, and last year, for the first time, we did nationwide family summits on drug poisoning deaths. Again, trying to understand from the families what information would be vital for them to have known and to have had to make sure that their loved ones knew of the threat. And I believe, Senator, as I sit here, that the cartels are acting with deliberate, calculated treachery. They make these pills, buying pill presses and dyes and dye molds, mostly from China as well, that look identical to the real pharmaceutical medicines. Please.
Let me ask you sort of a data question. In the data about overdose deaths, do we closely track those that are accidental? Someone thought they were taking something else and it turned out that it was laced with fentanyl? Because obviously any death to an overdose is a tragedy, but the strategy for dealing with the accidentals is a little bit different than the strategy for dealing with people who might have, you know, become a patient taking prescribed opioids and then they go into fentanyl. So do we track that data?
So two pieces. One is, if you listen to the language I use today, I don't use the term overdose anymore. And that's because of the time I've spent with the families who've lost loved ones. So many Americans are dying right now, and they're dying because fentanyl is cut into other drugs that they're taking, or it is in a fake prescription pill.
So overdose suggests you were taking something and maybe you took too much, but actually it's accidental. They weren't intending to take fentanyl or opioid at all.
And we think that using the term drug poisoning, whatever is happening, the fentanyl is actually poisoning people's bodies. And so we prefer to talk about it now as drug poisoning.
I'm over time, but do you track that data? And if so, I'm going to ask that follow-up. I'll ask that for the record. I want to yield back to the chair.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.